episode number 73. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the show, welcome. If you're looking just for poker discussion, go ahead and look in the show notes and click on fast forward to where it says strategy, and that'll take you straight to a hand where me and two of my buddies are discussing a strategy hand. We talk about one hand for about 15 minutes and dissect it to the finest minutiae. But if you're a regular listener, how the hell are you? I have had a really, really busy week, but it's been a lot of fun. Inside of a week, I've probably flown over, 6,000 miles, something like that. I don't know. How far is it from California to the east coast of America, then down to Aruba, and then back up and over again? I don't know. I've done that in the last 5 or 6 days. It's been awesome. My wife... Ever since the last episode that I recorded with Anthony, which if you're new to the show, go back and listen if you like online cash. I think it was, I've got a lot of compliments on that episode, so it was a lot of fun. I think it was a good one. But my wife called me up, and it is our 4-year anniversary. We met 4 years ago on a little island off the coast of Nicaragua, and we're going to celebrate. So she called me up, and she says, honey, I got a surprise. We both got the next 6 days off. She actually had 8 days off, and I had 6. And she's like, I bought us tickets to Aruba. And I'm like, cool. I've heard of Aruba before, but I couldn't, before a week ago, I couldn't have pointed to it on a map. I had no idea where it was, but it sounded tropical and fun, so let's do it. And so there was a couple of things I had to do with Amazon in the meantime. She flew out a couple of days early, and she helped me finish. Actually, she finished up a lot of that. We just had a big shipment we had to get out. That way, at least it's getting processed and getting through the mail while we're on vacation. And then now that we're back, all of that stuff is now starting to sell a week later. It takes about a week to mail it out to Amazon, have them process it, put it on the shelves, and get it up on the website. And then then you start selling. And now this stuff is starting to fly off the shelf. So that was cool. She helped out with that. We dropped off her car at the mechanic. I had finally had enough with the windshield wipers. I was just done. I grew up working on cars. My first car I bought when I was 14, and it was a Volkswagen Bug. And that thing, I never realized how easy it was to work on. But I really learned a lot of mechanics with that. Taking apart the motor, rebuilding it. I don't remember if I ever took apart the transmission. I don't think I did. Anyways, I'm fairly mechanically inclined. I grew up working on motors with my dad, but these newer cars, well, I say newer, it's a 1998, but if you're any kind of a gearhead and you're familiar with small block Chevys, and then you start to work on something that's as complex as a Mercedes-Benz, holy God. I mean, I could change the oil and do the spark plugs and fluids and, basic maintenance stuff, but this was the windshield wiper motor that, I was looking at pictures on YouTube of how to take it apart. I was on the phone with my brother, who is a Mercedes mechanic, and there's just, some of these screws that you have to get to. I'm so used to, I had an El Camino. It was a 66, and, you pop the hood, and you could damn near climb inside the engine compartment and close the hood, and you could probably spend the night. There's so much room. These newer cars, that is just not the case. And a couple of these screws to get the windshield wiper motor and transmission assembly back together, I was kind of, it was so. I actually went to Harbor Freight and bought some special needle nose plier tools that are kind of long and bent at a 90-degree angle, just so I could hold the nut and then screw the bolt down on top. And that didn't work. I dropped it a couple of times and had to worm my way in there with a long magnet to get the nut all the way down there. So anyway, my wife was home, and I said, you know what, honey, you have small hands. Do you think you can get this in here? And I'd been working on that one screw and nut to get it together for, God, probably an hour. And then she came out, and she was able to get it in about 15 minutes, and she could just get her hands in there. But yeah, it was a nightmare. I got the wiper motor out. The gears were all messed up, so I got a new motor. And then I got it installed, and just things weren't lining up right. I'd turn the windshield wipers on, and it's this complex windshield wiper. You know, you can picture most windshield wipers where you have two windshield wiper blades that you turn them on and they go back and forth. Well, Mercedes back in this era, they had one windshield wiper blade, and it's a pretty damn clever design. What it does is it starts down, level, perpendicular with the windshield, and then when it starts to rise up, now there's only one windshield wiper, so it's in the center of the windshield, and it has this gear they call it a transmission, a wiper transmission, that allows it to stay kind of close to the kind of tucked in, so that it's not. How can I describe this? It's kind of it's the shortest distance it's going to be when it's level with the windshield. Now, as the windshield wiper goes up and it goes up into the top corner, this transmission allows the wiper blade to actually push out about another 6 inches, so it gets all the way up in the corner of your windshield. And then as it starts to go to where it's 90 degrees straight up and down, now the windshield wiper tucks back down and it goes real short again. And it tucks in about, 6 or 8 inches. And then once it goes out to the corner again, it pushes itself out, way out to the corner. So what you end up getting with this one windshield wiper blade is it will clear probably 90% of the windshield, even up in the corners, whereas with two windshield wipers, you're kind of missing those corners, But in order for it to do that, it's this incredibly complex mechanism of gears and rods and pistons. Anyways, I finally had enough, so I took it to the shop. It should be done in the next couple of days. I was done, but we got the Amazon shipment out. We got her car over to the shop. A little side note: Tony's son Emery. I texted him a little bit ago, and he is doing better. He is slowly recovering. So. If you guys have been listening, we've had Tony on the show before, and he was building our website previously, and his son was born prematurely, but he is doing well. He's gaining weight, and so our thoughts are with you, Tony. Hope you're doing good, Emery. Went out to, after that, then we went down to, the next morning we woke up, went to LAX. We caught the first plane out to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we spent the night there. And then the next morning we woke up and we headed straight out to Aruba. And I didn't know it, but my wife had this goal or something that she always wanted to do. She wanted to, once she got a job as a flight attendant here, she wanted to buy the two of us a first-class ticket to somewhere, to some vacation. And she was able to do that. So all our plane tickets were free because she's a flight attendant. But the one that we went down, that we flew from Charlotte, North Carolina, down to Aruba with was a first-class ticket. We got that for $100, and I proceeded to have several beers and a thing of wine, and then we both fell asleep to a movie. It was probably one of the best. We had breakfast on the plane too, which was really good. It's not the normal airline food when you're in first class, and it was really cool. It was that was neat. And then we got down to Aruba. And Aruba is this little island, if you don't know it, that's a little bit north of South America. So it's north of Venezuela. I asked the cab driver there, and I could have heard him wrong between his broken Spanish, and they speak like 5 languages down there, and all of them they speak pretty well. But his accent was real heavy, and I think he said that it was 20 miles north of the Venezuela border. So it's just this little island there. It's about 6 miles wide and 15 miles tall. And there's a little bunch of little tiny islands around it, but very tropical, very beautiful, a lot of fun. And so we got there, and we went to this resort. I don't normally stay at resorts. When my buddy and I go traveling, we're gone for a month, so we're staying in little bungalows and sometimes hostels and stuff like that. But this time we were only there for 2 days, and she got a resort. It was, I think, $150 a night, and it was awesome. They had their own private island. So if you ever go to Aruba and you want to stay in a resort for just a couple of days, this is the one to stay at. It's called the Renaissance, and they have 3 different properties. There's one we never made it to, and then there's another one that was kind of like for families, and then there was another one where we stayed at was adults only, no kids were allowed. Which was cool. And so as a couple that doesn't have children, that was pretty cool. And so then they also have this private island. They have a boat that comes every 15 minutes, and they just cycle people over there like cattle, then you can go to this little island. They have areas in the island where you can go if you only want to be by yourself. They have areas in the island where they have flamingos and they have iguanas, and it's just tropical, and you can do snorkeling, and it is a lot of fun. And so we went over there to the island, and yeah, we just had a blast. We just ate good food, and yeah, God, that was fun. Then we flew back after spending a couple of days there. Then we flew back to Miami, and then from Miami to Dallas Fort Worth, which is where my wife's apartment is and where she's stationed now as a flight attendant. And we just kind of played the tourist thing out in Dallas. We thought, okay, let's go to downtown Dallas Fort Worth, just see what's there. So we run down to the train station, and we actually ended up meeting 3 of her flight attendant friends at the train station, and one of them is from Dallas Fort Worth. So she kind of gave us the lowdown on what to do for the day in Dallas. We went down there. We had alligator for lunch. We split a couple of drinks that were entirely stronger than we anticipated. And then we went to do the tourist thing in downtown, and we watched the cattle. We watched the cowboys do the cattle run, where they just run a bunch of longhorn steers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen these Texas longhorn steers, but they, honest to God, their horns are about as wide as you can put your hands. Maybe 7 feet might be, or I was going to say 8 feet might be an exaggeration. I don't think 7 feet is too long for some of the bigger guys, but most of them, their horns are honestly 6 feet wide, which is, what would that be, like 2 meters. And, yeah, so we got to see the cattle run down, and then we kind of bar hopped, and then a storm was coming in, so we made it back to the house last night, just before the storm hit, and went to sleep. I woke up this morning, caught the first plane out of Dallas, got here to California, and I, at 10 o'clock on every Wednesday, me and Carlos and Mike and Doug get on, and we do our Wednesday poker discussion group, and we did the same day. So I landed about what time did I land? I think 9:30, and then I got on Skype with those guys, and on the drive home we were just talking. We reviewed a tournament that Carlos played. He got 4th in the tournament. It was a $33. I think he got a 6K guarantee. $33 on Bovada. He got 4th place, I think, for $500. And so we reviewed that tournament down to the end, and yeah, it was pretty cool. I listened to him over Skype and on the way home, and then once I got home, I got on my computer, and then I was able to screen share with the guys and look at the actual hands that we were discussing. So that was cool. There's one hand that I was able to record for the podcast here, and I think it's a pretty good one. It's kind of a common spot that is kind of a sticky situation. It's one of those where you flop middle pair. So the hand is 6-7 suited, so we got 6 of spades, 7 of spades in the big blind, and the cutoff does a min raise. And he's an active cutoff, he's an active aggressive player, and the board is 9-7-2 with the 2 of spades, and we have the 6-7 of spades, so we got a backdoor flush draw, and we got middle pair. And yeah, it's a pretty neat hand. I think we went into pretty good depth with it, and it was fun. Speaking of fun, we all know that to really get better at this game, you need to have a coach. You need to have some type of study session, okay? Whether you can afford a coach or not, that's the best thing you can do. A training site, a study group like Mike and I and Carlos and Doug do. I think that's right up there with having a coach. Having a training site that you belong to. If you guys are wanting to get better at tournaments, Tournament Poker Edge is the best one that you can join. You can go to HeadsUpPoker.Poker, click on the Tournament Poker Edge icon there, and that will take you to their website. The podcast will get a portion of your monthly membership, and really, I mean, if you're serious about the game, there's no reason you shouldn't have a training site. Another thing you seriously need is, and one that's probably one of the easiest to do, is to have a warm-up routine. Have something that you do every single time before you play, and if you don't do it, you don't play. So it's that simple. If your routine is you go and walk around the block to get outside and get some fresh air, and then you do a couple of breaths, and then you start playing, good for you, because that's separating you from probably 90% of the field, maybe even more. You've got to have some kind of warm-up routine. And I personally can't think of a better one than to get your mind right and your subconscious ready to play than to listen to an Elliott Rowe tape. I mean, really, he has a hypnosis tape for every single kind of poker you could imagine, even final tables. Spin and goes, online cash, online MTTs, live cash, live MTTs. And he's got, variations of each one, I have them all. So when I go to Vegas, I'm going to be listening to the live MTTs, hypnosis tapes. When I'm going to be playing on Bovada, I'm going to listen to the online MTTs. If I'm going to be playing live cash down at my local card room, I'm going to listen to the live cash MP3. He has them for all of them. So you can check them out. You get 10% off if you use the code HeadsUpPoker. It kicks a little bit back to the podcast, and everyone wins. So quit putting it off. Just do it, and you'll start to feel the benefits. When you're sitting at the table, it will, I swear to God, they work. I wouldn't endorse it if they didn't. I've actually had guys come up to me and ask me to endorse stuff recently, and I've tried the product, and I just don't believe in it, and it doesn't do it for me. So I'm not going to throw it out there if I don't believe in it, and this is one of the ones that I really, truly do. TPE and hypnosis tapes. So without further ado, we have the 6 of spades, 7 of spades in the big blind, and the board is the 9 of hearts, 7 of diamonds, and 2 of spades. Okay, so we got the back door, we got middle pair, and here we go.
I got supersonic speed that I used to run to you. I stretch my arms for miles and miles and wrap them.
Okay, so we're in the big blind here with the 6 of spades, 7 of spades. We get UTG, so that's the cutoff. He min raises to 4K. Button folds, small blind folds, and it's on us. And we're completing here like every time, right? The villain has 34K. We got 60K.
How many big blinds? What's the blinds again? 1,000, 2,000?
4K. So villain started with like what is that?
19.
19 bigs, and we've got like double that.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're completing here every time, right? We're never raising a 19 big blind stack with 6-7 suited.
Well, if the big blind was super aggressive, you think you're going to rip, maybe that would change it a little bit. But
no, we're the big blind.
Oh, I thought we were the small blind. Oh, yeah. We're completing.
Yeah, cutoff raises, folds to us, we're complete. Okay, all right, so almost 12K in the pot, and then the flop comes down, 9 of hearts, 7 of diamonds, 2 of spades, and we have 6-7 of spades. Okay, into an 11K pot. Now, what are we thinking with checking here? Are we just kind of in like keep the pot small? What are you thinking?
You mean while we're not donking? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. What are the pros and cons to donking, and then what are the pros and cons to checking?
I generally don't like donking when I have a decent pair, because like if I donk and he raises, I'm not gonna want to fold, and I don't know. I'm more likely to dunk here if I don't have, like, my donking range here is going to be polarized. So if I had something like 3-4 spades, I would probably dunk, and if I had like 7 deuce, I would dunk or set something like that. But this hand is like kind of a middling strength hand, and generally I try not to dunk with those, because if I get raised, I'm not gonna know what to do. Whereas if I had 2 pair and I got raised, I definitely know what to do. And if I had 4 high and I got raised, I know what to do.
Okay, so I like that too. I like checking. But okay. Now, okay, you check into 12K pot. Villain bets 44.99, so he bets 4,500 into 12K. What are you guys thinking here?
I'm thinking that the type of hands he should be opening in this spot is going to be mostly like Broadway stuff. He should have a good number of pairs as well. Some ace-x hands. Like, generally, like any ace-x Broadway, including like some people on Bovada would open like offsuit Broadways as well as suited Broadways and pairs. I don't think he has many hands like 9x and 7x. I don't think he has many of those. Like I don't think he's open like king 9, queen 9. It's possible, but I think those type of hands are unlikely.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you're putting them mostly overcards?
Overcards and pairs. So yeah, because I feel like he could be doing this with like the offsuit combos, then yeah, it's heavily weighted towards overcards and like offsuit like ace-x hands that he's just trying to steal with his blocker, like ace-10 or ace-8, ace-9, stuff like that.
I mean, you flop the pair. You know what I mean? That's kind of all I need to know with his stack size and our stack size. Like Carlos said, this would be like I'm not sure if this would be like an instinctive check raise, check shove to me.
And
lock up that equity. You take this pot down. That's a 28% bump to your stack. Although Steve, it's kind of interesting. Maybe just min click it back. Make this guy think he's got fold equity. Give him, in case he spazzes out with his. Let him spaz out with his ace high. I guess I don't know.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was thinking like, we're never folding here. We all agree that, right? We're never folding 6-7 on a 9-7-2 board, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not folding.
So that's out of the equation. Okay, so it's between calling, raising, or shoving, right?
Correct.
Okay. Calling, I don't really. Well, no, I don't really like that.
So many turn cards.
Yeah. There's so many turns that just suck. So I think I'm going to take calling out too. So it's between raising and then shoving. I kind of like maybe I wasn't thinking a click until you said it, Mike. But I was thinking a raise to something like he bet 45, raise it to like 11, maybe 10 at the smallest.
Well, yeah. I mean, he just doesn't have a lot of chips left. So like that looks like you've actually thought about the bet size. Clicking it is just like this could be a pure steal.
Yeah, that's a good point
on his part. So no, it's either shove or like min click in my mind.
Or click it, yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like the click.
Yeah, I mean
that's. He's still with ace king. He's still. What are we? He's got like 20. He's like 24% to win or something.
Yeah.
So if I were to just flat here, I'm absolutely committed to calling his bets on the turn in the river in my mind. But
yeah.
maybe that's bad thinking.
And see, the one thing that I don't like about, I guess it's not hard, but like when you say click it, was that like 10K, 9K?
44.99. That would be
like
89.98.
Yeah, 89.98.
Yeah.
I mean,
that one I think works better than a. Like, if I was going to raise less than all in, my first thought would have been something like between, like, 13 and 15. And I don't like that because even if he has ace-10 and he decides to spaz out and shove it in, at that point, the pot may be so big that getting it in with two overs may not even be that big of a mistake, if he's got 24% equity. And so, but if you click it, then now if he shoves, it's a much bigger mistake. So that's an interesting line that I didn't think about.
You don't mind if you saw face up, he's got ace king. You want him to get it in, the chips in here. You're happy with that being a 3-1 favorite.
Definitely, we've seen 70% of our hand, and we're a big favorite. Yeah.
If he has ace king and I make it like 9K here and he shoves, I'm happy. If he has ace king and I make it like 15K here and I shove, I'm less happy. because now his shove is better. Because
You
the
mean
pot
if you
is
make it 15K and he shoves,
right,
and then you call it, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like depending on how big the pot is before he shoves. Like, I mean, like for example, this is obviously the super extreme case, but if I made it like 20K here and he shoved with ace king, he's not making a mistake at all because he's getting the right price. He only needs 24%. He probably needs less than 24% equity. If I do that, his shove is kind of profitable at that point. So that's what I meant by the smaller check raise sizing makes it better if we can get him to spaz out with a hand like ace king, which is not even something I would have thought about until Mike just mentioned it. My thought was between making it like 15 here or shoving, and I didn't like making it 15 because now if he decides to stick it in, his price he's getting closer to being correct to do so. That's why in this particular, because I wasn't thinking about clicking as an option at the time, I felt like the best case was just to shove it.
Well, the min click to if this is against me or whatever, the min click has the same result as betting 15% a pot on a river. It just fucking annoys you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone is buying a pretty big pot for pretty cheap here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is what I was saying earlier, where if you can like basically these little small bets. You make like a small bet against an aggressive player, it just needles them to the point where they just have to like shove their stack in.
Yeah.
So, kind of makes sense.
How much do you put in, like, how the difference between having second pair and third pair here? This is like a spot. For some reason, second pair, I'm always like, okay, I get this in. But like if the flop here was Queen 8-7, are you doing the same thing? I'm just curious.
No, with Queen 8-7, I may lead because I'm looking. Sometimes I look at bottom pairs as like 5-out draws. I'm not really looking at them as showdown value, right. And so I'm probably betting the flop there, just trying to. Because if I bet there and I get raised, to me it's an easy fold.
Yeah.
With second pair, it doesn't feel like an easy fold if I dunk out and get raised, especially all the back doors I have.
What do you guys? I agree. I'm dunk leading on that board. I don't know that I really ever knew why. On Queen, what'd you say? Queen 9-7, and we have 6-7. I'm dunk leading there I think for the same reason. Like if I lead and then I get raised, it's an easy fold. If I check and he bets, then I'm kind of in a spot where you don't really know what to do. Is it good to float one or is it?
I can't guarantee it, but I'm just saying instinctively, like that board scares us, and we're not like fist pumping. But if we did his entire range of hands, and we're assuming he's c-betting all the time, like check shoving is still probably wildly profitable there. Do you know what I mean? He just doesn't have a pair that often.
Oh, you mean on the third pair board?
Yeah.
Check shoving.
If Carlos says he checks shove here, I'm saying that's still a profitable play with third pair as it is with second pair, just not quite as much. You know what I mean? Just throwing that out there.
Interesting.
Right.
Do you do that move, Mike?
Probably.
Like you said, if you got 6-7 and the board is Queen 9-7, are you ever check shoving there? I don't know that I would ever do that. I think I would dunk lead every time. Maybe that's a league.
Yeah, I don't know. I donk lead a lot, and a lot of times I'm not sure if it's optimal. I'll float a lot on. I'll float a lot. I'll call a lot of c-bets and then just donk, and it seems to work a fair amount. But I don't know here. Just this spot, just changing the board texture just a little bit. How does that change? Again, this might be a HUD-based thing. If I see the guy is c-betting 80% plus, I check shoving third pair is pretty an easy choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree that it's definitely HUD-based. So in this case, the guy bet basically third pot, or like between 30-40% of the pot, between like a third and 40% of the pot.
Yeah, like 35% something.
And I just decided to shove, and he folded it with the ace 8.
Ace 8.
Ace 8. Ace eight offsuit. Yeah.
Interesting. What do we think he's doing with that if we click it back like Mike says?
Probably still folding, but just
He might call.
Yeah, I mean, and see that's probably why I have a little bit worried about clicking it back, because we might give him the price where he feel like he can call with his backdoor opening the straight draw. Well, that sounds weird. Oh, his backdoor straight. He's got 3 to the straight. However you want to say that, and an overcard. So
right.
I don't know.
That's true. Yeah, but if we at least it's uncomplicated playing the future streets, because if you click it and he calls, there's 32 in the pot. He's got 25 left, and you're shoving every turn. I'm assuming, right?
Depending on what the turn is. But there are a lot of turn cards that are good for us. So that might be a better line with this particular hand, because we have so many turn cards that improve our equity, and maybe just shoving is better with a 7-6 of clubs, because we don't have the spades to help us out now.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that could be a good way to split your range if you wanted to. But yeah, there would definitely be some turn cards I'm not super happy with.
I would think that would be a mistake not to shove the turn here with all the chips in there. And
you mean regardless of the turn, or?
Well, I don't know. I mean, well, first of all, what would he be calling a min click back? It would be big aces or like sets and big. You really don't have that many cards to worry about. I don't know.
He's just calling. Yeah. Okay. Would he just call?
Could have 10.
Maybe like Jack 10 for a gut shot and 2 overs.
I think you have to shove. I think you have to shove the turn if for some reason you were mid click.
Yeah. And see, that's why
there's too much chips in the pot. He didn't shove on the flop, so he probably doesn't love his hand unless he's got. I mean, if he has an overpair, he's shoving there every time. I don't know. Yeah, it's just not, that would be a weird way for min click for him to call. But.
Yeah, that's what I like about just getting it in on a flop. Is like the turns just going to make everything so much more murky. And I know I have the best hand often enough to get it in here now. I can put max pressure on him, and if he wakes up with aces, I'm not hurt that bad. I'm still in the game. Yeah. And all this, again, is predicated on the fact that the guy had active HUD stats. If he was tight, I probably wouldn't take this line.
Right.
So, yeah, I like just getting it in on the flop there.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
If he's just a tight player, then are we always check calling?
Yeah, I think I'm going to check call against him and expect him to shut down if he has like broadways that don't improve. Generally, tight people aren't double barreling enough, so I could. And if he does have aces, I could suck out on him on the turn. I got 5 immediate outs to a better hand, and then plus I got tons of cards that can give me a draw, a pair plus a draw. So I'm probably check calling, especially the size he made it. If this is a tight player, and he bets that sizing, like 30, 40% of pot, I'm just calling here and expecting him to either check back if he misses, or if he bets again and I don't improve, I'm just folding.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to get some free training, you can go to, you can check out Mike on Twitch, and you can check out Carlos on Twitch. They are on twitch.tv/Carlos Welch and twitch.tv/RampagePoker. So you guys can check them out there. Be sure to check out HeadsUpPoker.Poker. Go to the website, submit a hand to the podcast. We'll read it on the air. Me, Mike, and Carlos will dissect it, or I will, or me and whoever my guest is at the week will, of the week will. So check that out. Follow me on Twitter at HUP Podcast, and I will talk to you next week. You have a great week, and here is your weekly motivational speech.
What I've come to appreciate when you're working on changing your life, changing some bad habit, getting out of addictive situations or relationships, or working to build a dream or making a difference in our society, it's hard. Easy is not an option. It's hard living. Life is hard. That's rough. How people look at you, how they respond to you. Well, you thought it was over. Well, it's just getting started. This is the part where you reinvent yourself. It's time to be tested, to test your will, your endurance. It's time to test your heart, to test your living. It's about no days off, no weekends, no holidays, no birthdays. Listen to me, no days off. It's about gaining the competitive edge. You can't afford to make excuses. No excuses. Feel pain and trust me. Feel it. All you want to do is give up. All you want to do is give in. When you feel like you've given all you got, you gotta take one more step. You gotta run one more lap.